Thank you, Chair. So let's play a game. Let's play a lightning round game. I'm going to be the bad guy, which I'm sure half the room would agree with anyway. And I want to get away with as much bad things as possible, ideally to enrich myself and advance my interest, even if that means putting my interests ahead of the American people. So, Mrs. Hobart Flynn. Oh, and by the way, I have enlisted all of you as my co-conspirators. So you're going to help me legally get away with all of this. So, Mrs. Hobart Flynn, I want to run. If I want to run a campaign that is entirely funded by corporate political action committees, is there anything that legally prevents me from doing that?
No.
Okay, so there's nothing stopping me from being entirely funded by corporate PACs, say from the fossil fuel industry, the healthcare industry, big pharma. I'm entirely 100% lobbyist PAC funded. Okay, so let's say I'm a really, really bad guy, and let's say I have some skeletons in my closet that I need to cover up so that I can get elected. Mr. Smith, is it true that you wrote this article, this opinion piece for the Washington Post entitled, "These to women were unseemly, that doesn't mean they were illegal"?
Well, I can't see the piece, but I wrote a piece under that headline in the Post, so I assume that's right.
Okay, great. So, green light for hush money. I can do all sorts of terrible things. It's totally legal right now for me to pay people off. And that is considered speech. That money is considered speech. So I use my special interest dark money funded campaign to pay off folks that I need to pay off and get elected. So now I'm elected, now I'm in, I've got the power to draft, lobby, and shape the laws that govern the United States of America. Fabulous. Now, is there any hard limit that I have, perhaps Mrs. Hobart Flynn, is there any hard limit that I have in terms of what legislation I'm allowed to touch? Are there any limits on the laws that I can write or influence, especially if I'm based on the special interest funds that I accepted to finance my campaign and get me elected in the first place?
There's no limit.
So there's none. So I can be totally funded by oil and gas. I can be totally funded by Big Pharma, come in, write Big Pharma laws, and there's no limits to that whatsoever.
That's right.
Okay, so awesome. Now, Mr. Mirabani, the last thing I want to do is get rich with as little work possible. That's really what I'm trying to do as the bad guy, right? So is there anything preventing me from holding stocks, say, in an oil or gas company, and then writing laws to deregulate that industry and cause, that could potentially cause the stock value to soar and accrue a lot of money in that time?
You could do that.
So I could do that. I could do that now with the way our current laws are set up. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so my last question is, or one of my last questions, I guess I'd say, is it possible that any elements of this story apply to our current government and our current public servants right now?
Yes.
Yes.
So we have a system that is fundamentally broken. We have these influences existing in this body, which means that these influences are here in this committee shaping the questions that are being asked right now. Would you say that that's correct,
Yes.
Mr. Mirabani or Mr. Schaub?
Yes.
All right, so one last thing, Mr. Schaub. In relation to congressional oversight that we have, the limits that are placed on me as a congresswoman, compared to the executive branch and compared to, say, the President of the United States, would you say that Congress has the same sort of standard of accountability? Is there more teeth in that regulation in Congress on the president, or would you say it's about even, or more so on the federal?
In terms of laws that apply to the president, yeah, there's almost no laws at all that apply to the president.
So I'm being held, and every person in this body is being held to a higher ethical standard than the President of the United States.
That's right, because there are some ethics committee rules that apply to you.
And it's already super legal, as we've seen, for me to be a pretty bad guy. So it's even easier for the President of the United States to be one, I would assume.
That's right.
Interesting. Is she on fire or what? Is she on fire? That is, if that's not like plain and simple, giving it to you direct. This is the new Democratic Party. This is what we're talking about. This is what we've been talking about. And I love that. I saw that video and I was just like, yes. Give it to them plain like they're 5 years old. And they see exactly the manipulation that's been going on. This is, and we've all known it, right? We've all known it. This is not new. This is not new to anyone. The people that's doing it manipulate the system. The people that know about it and don't, and didn't have the power initially, now, as you can see, have the power to be able to expose and control and restructure this fucked up ass system. And just the way she gave it to you was just like, thank you. Break it down like they're 5 years old. 5-year-old to be able to get that. And I just wanted to open with that to say, I appreciated that. I really did. She really broke it down and really asked the questions and that's another thing. Like, she talked about how the questions are formed to not even be able to address these issues, these loopholes that's going on, right? The loopholes that you can manipulate and not even get charged with a crime and become rich. This is what it's always been about. That's why all the legislation and everything that you see that gets passed has nothing to do with the constituents. It all has to do with their donors. It all has to do with these corporations. Because access, people always say, well, yeah, if you donate a big amount of money, you get access. That's exactly what access is, influence. I can get you in the office and you see my ability and like how much I can get for you, or what the type of people that I'm such an influencer. Think about, I don't know if you guys seen the documentary the Fire documentary. It's good it's on you can watch it on Netflix or you can watch it on Hulu. I watched both of them. They're both kind of different. I think if they were put together, it would have been even more. It would have been better. But I think the Netflix one is way better produced. But it's like that. It's like, you have these influencers that if I have these influencers tweet out that we're about to have this huge music festival, I'm going to get a lot of people. And that's what happens. So when you have money and you have access to a politician that can actually draft and sponsor legislation, even if they didn't write it, legislation that actually came from your legal team and the people that are campaigning and like Alec, right? This is what we want you to do. So now the only thing I have to do is sponsor it. You put your name on it. It's your bill. You're sponsoring it. You get stock. And now you got money. And I don't think everybody's corrupt, but doesn't that sound sweet? Does that sound sweet to someone that, maybe are not taking into consideration what they're doing either to the environment, what they're doing to their community, what they're doing to the minority groups in their community, if they're not really taking into consideration what you're actually there for. And you can almost say, they can kind of mix it up because up until now, that's how government has been run, right? So they can easily mistake what their duties are and who they're actually indebted to based on how things have been going so far. And now, all of a sudden, you do 2, 3 terms, 4 terms, you're rich. You can go out and be a consultant and you're good because you've done all these favors. You know what I'm saying? I love that she exposed that shit. How you guys doing? Hanging out. I just wanted to kind of come up here for a second and talk about a few things. Let me see what y'all talking about on the live chat. What y'all got going on the live chat. I'm sad to see so many progressives get caught up in the idol worship behavior. We need a grassroots movement to disrupt the status quo. not electoral saviors. We don't have a democracy. Who was that? Marshall? I mean, that's what this is, though, right? Isn't it? You don't think that this is what did you call it? What was the term you used? A grassroots movement? It was the grassroots movement that got her into office. It was the grassroots movement that got all these women into office. The first transgender woman into office. The first Muslim women into office. That was the grassroots movement. Because they're in office now, are we saying that no one's saying that the grassroots movement is over? That's exactly what this is. It's not now that she's in office that she's a part of the status quo. We can't say that. That's absurd because no one can help that she's been getting she's been all over the news, right wing and left wing media. They're obsessed with her. I mean, she can't do anything about that. But to discount how she got there, I think it's crazy. Don't you think? Talk to me, Marshall. It seems absurd a little bit. Like, she got there through grassroots. Like, as grassroots as you can get to beat a fucking 15-year incumbent, right? Hey, was Sharinda Jones? Is it Sheridan? I'm sorry, I can't read. Hey, I'm okay. I mean, my shoulder is what it is. It's good. I don't know if it's gonna get better, but right now I feel fine. That's why every now and again you see me elevate my shoulder because I don't want to be distracted by it. But yeah, Marshall, I think this is the grassroots movement. I don't think anyone like AOC Elizabeth Warren sometimes also says good things when she wants to, makes a self-righteous display, but actions speak louder than words. I mean, goddamn, dog. I think you're right, Marshall, but she just got in office. Like, because she's been in the media since she got elected, since she was the Democratic nominee. She's been in the media, so it may seem like she had some type of power, but job just started in January. So, take that into consideration, player. But also you should take into consideration that it is grassroots and that also she's not going to do everything. Like, she's not Superman. And I don't think anyone and if you do think that she should be, you have an unrealistic expectation. She just introduced the Green New Deal, like today, come on. She's getting things done. You have, what's the Muslim girl name? She passed that law when we were in, passed the bill when we were in, when the government was shut down to make sure that people also got paid for child care while they were out of work and the government was shut down. Dog, I don't know what else you would want right now. I think it's great to acknowledge what they're doing good. I don't think it's actually saying, oh, this is our savior and this is what we're doing. No, we're acknowledging that we're moving forward with the grass movement. We're acknowledging what's actually going on through grass movement. Marshall, I'm not sure. What's the word? Marshall Villiger, I think that's what it is. Even Obama developed a type of grassroots movement during his campaign, but he demobilized it when he won. Yeah. Skepticism is cool, dog, but it really seems like she has a different disposition. And also, she's not up against what Barack was up against. He was up against, he was the president. That's a different thing than being in the House of Representatives and being a part of a larger group. She's not a speaker. She's part of a larger group and getting people together to make things happen. She got different House members together for the Green New Deal. You know what I mean? if she does go left, then we can judge that, but she's been consistent, you know what I mean? And Barack Obama had the entire Congress saying, we're going to stop everything he does. We're not even trying to listen. And almost had to force his hand to be more moderate just so that he can get things passed. I mean, he bullied the ACA into law. He had to do that. I wish he would have bullied some other things into law, but he was preoccupied. I think he was nervous. He was scared. You saw how he fired 2 black people because they said something, which I think one of them wasn't even true. And he found out after he did it, but he did it so quick because he was preoccupied. I mean, there's a lot when it comes, and people might say I'm an Obama apologist, but you have to say, I criticize Obama too, but you have to take all those things into consideration. You know what I'm saying? And that's not her, though. It's who she is. Let's judge her based on what she's doing. Is she doing things right now? Yes. Some things, yes. So let's get that. When she do things wrong, let's get that. But goddamn, no one gets it right all the time. But right now, it seems like she's doing it. And it's kind of jumping the gun to all of a sudden just say, you know what? I mean, you can be just you know what? Rather she does good or does bad, I'm going to stay level. I'm not going to allow her actions to dictate, my emotions or dictate how I see her. So then I won't have these large expectations. I can understand that. But to say that she's not doing what we want her to do, I don't get it. Frig. Colin, yeah. If I hook up the regular camera, it can go higher, but at the same time, I would need a one of those desks that kind of lift up to go higher. Because if I'm standing up, Colin, and I'm elevated, my shoulder it won't hurt. But if I put it on there, you guys will see the back right now. In the back, it's not worth seeing. I need to clean it up. So, but yeah, I feel you. Ty, I wish in Canada we had people like yourself working like you and Jordan do. I appreciate you, Cheryl. We try to do our best, man. Thank you so much. That's very encouraging, for real. And like I told y'all the last time, we're going to get it together. And this probably not be a thing for Jordan, but it's definitely going to be a thing for me, where, like I was telling you guys, when we have conversations, I want to invite you in. I don't want to be the loudest voice here because I really want to, I think having discourse, whether you agree or disagree, but open to some good discussion. I want to have that and have you on like live and just and talk to you. I see you say something intriguing on the messages. I have you call in, and we have the software that can do it. I just have to figure out how to use it, and so we can be able to call you in and have you on right live. Then I think that'll be amazing. It's sometimes when I look at shows, I'm like, damn, can I call in? Because I want to say something. I need you to hear my voice. And it's a lot of times when you're messaging, right? You can get lost in the message. It's like, damn, he didn't read my message. It said something good. I don't know if you guys like that, but when I message something, always, I'm indignant. So I get a little when, I don't get my messages read. Exactly, Ty. She's in the big game now and has to get her feet under her and learn who, what, when, and where she can make the moves and changes. She wants being in political area is strategic as much as it. I kind of get the gist of what you're saying. I think, yeah. But I think I think she has her feet under her. I don't think there's some things that maybe she needs to get her feet under. It was something, I can't forget that I was like, huh? But it seems like she's on the right path. You know what I mean? It's all about campaigning. Not only campaigning when you're out, but once you get in, you got to campaign as well because you need people to back a bill. It's all about votes. So if they have a certain amount of people in there, you got to get these people to back your bill. You know what I mean? So she is not Obama plus. She just started. Absolutely. She is definitely not. And she just started. That's great. Obama was corporate stooge. Okay, I mean, that's an arguing point, right? We can argue that. Jordan would agree with that. I think he became that based on necessity. I don't think it was a plot. I don't think he was like, I'm going to do this. You got to understand, when you are campaigning for office, it's different from being in office. You think you can do a whole lot and you get in and you realize, God damn, there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of, it's not just like I'm not a king. There's two other branches of government that I have to deal with that can say yay or nay. Like, I actually have to then, after I campaign outside, have to campaign within the government. And you guys saw plain this day, they made it plain this day that we're going to make it as difficult as possible, for you. I think the biggest, most effective thing she's done is take them to school and check them on their BS. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Exposure is everything. When you expose it, at the core of the right and the left, they feel that what they believe is going to make the country better. I think at their core, that's what they believe, that what they believe is going to make the country better. And just in that spirit, when they see something like that and it's exposed, they will realize, oh, that's wrong. That's not the vision. That's not what we want to do. That's not where we're going. Like, they will see that and recognize that, because that's bipartisan. I'm about to go live right now too on Instagram. That's bipartisan, right? We can easily say that that's a bipartisan thing. Everyone, the reason that Trump is in office because he was supposed to, quote unquote, flip the government upside down, right? That was his whole marching point. He's flipping the government upside down. He's going to do something different. And that's how his people got him in, voted him in office. And so if someone sees something like this, the only thing that they will do is agree. You can't do nothing but agree with the analysis, with how she broke it down. When she put you step by step through it, it say, see, oh, that makes sense. And as we address that, and let's see as we try to then reconstruct that, where the resistance come from. The resistance isn't just going to come from the right. It's going to come from the left too as well, because they full of shit as well. Please know that. Please know that. There's a lot of, I'm gonna do Instagram in a minute. There's a lot of things in the news as far as Virginia's concerned. I know you guys know that. I'm sorry, my neck is starting to hurt. But now the Secretary of State has come out and say that, yeah, he had blackface during Halloween one time, 2 years after Katrina. He dressed up as a black Katrina survivor, a black woman that was a Katrina survivor. How absurd and insensitive is that? What's funny about that? I don't know, man. That's harsh. I don't know what that is. Right? I don't get that. That's upsetting. So he came out with that. So now you have the governor dealing with his issue with blackface. You have the lieutenant governor now dealing with accusations of sexual misconduct. I don't really know what to call it at this point. But he has a woman saying that he sexually harassed her. I don't think it's assault, but he says no, it was a mutual relationship. I don't know. But what I do know is that you got the Democrats now on television, and they are definitely not treating him like Brett Kavanaugh. And you guys may feel a certain way about that, but I'm not saying they're not calling a spade a spade. I think the one thing they are saying that's consistent is let's get more information, let's do an investigation. And I think that's great. Let's do that. Let's get it out there, but we definitely don't hear no one doing, it is what it is. It was an allegation with him. Now it's an allegation with the lieutenant governor. It was an allegation with Brett Kavanaugh. Now it's an allegation with the lieutenant governor. And the reaction couldn't be more different. And it is what it is. So you look at it and you call it what you want to call it. But hey, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that. But that's what it is, right? Let me see. Jordan hit me up. Remember, you guys, this is a super chat. Also, we have the GoFundMe going on. Pop in a live chat. I am in a live chat, dog. Let's see what we got going on. I was trying to do Instagram as well, but I guess I'll do another video with Instagram later. It's only like one person on Instagram. I'm trying to do Instagram more. So you guys, just FYI, we're going to be doing a lot more to build up membership, to build up viewers. It's all about viewers. Obviously, you guys see something's wrong with this thing right here. It only says that I have 29 viewers. But maybe for me, maybe that's what it is, but I doubt it. But we want to do a lot more things just so we can build up the membership and build up our membership on the page, so we can, you guys know what we're about. We're about getting in the field, and that's kind of our thing, and we want to give y'all that, and it takes money. So we're gonna start doing more, giving more content. I'm gonna start doing more lives as well, so y'all can get my perspective and how I'm feeling, and hopefully, with that we can get more of a diverse crowd in here, which will be good. You know what I'm saying? I love diversity of thought. Every liberal don't think the same, and definitely liberals and conservatives have different perspectives, and I want to get both. Period. So, what y'all got going on in here? I don't think it's a fact that Jimmy Dore criticized her, but the way he criticizes those he take to task, personally, I don't much like Jimmy Dore. I find him to be crass and classes in his criticism. Classless, I think she probably meant. Or classes. Classes, really? Maybe he meant classes. Tied true, it's going to come down. Take a smart, strong, savvy person to be able to hold up that kind of pressure and not take you down and bring you to their level. That's right. Let's see. And that is reasonable, but some people act like babies when Jimmy Dore criticizes AOC. Too many people like that. Let me see what she actually said. Who was he responding to? Cheryl, what did she say? Also, just because we agree with praise. Let me see what she said initially. She praised Pelosi, but she's also said a lot of other good things. When did she praise Pelosi? AOC. When did she praise Pelosi? Somebody tell me when she praised Pelosi, please, because that's what they're talking about right now. Can somebody tell me? Type it up. What did she praise Pelosi for? Hey, Exhausted 11. Yeah, there is a racist government. Huffington Post article. Did you get the post I gave you, Ty? What post? About the one about face painting and butterfly on your cheek? No, what was that? I don't remember that. No, I didn't get that. Oh, you're talking about what Nancy Pelosi didn't acknowledge but I thought you said that AOC was saying something good about Nancy Pelosi. I know what Nancy Pelosi did. Yeah, earlier today she didn't fall bait to create a division in the party about Nancy Pelosi. Haley, I don't know. I think people need to relax and take him on the merit of what he's saying and not get lost in context. What are you referring to, Haley? I'm like lost in y'all conversation. I want to know though. Haley, I don't think cling steel. Okay, Haley must have said something. Woo! Nightclub comedian to not be crass. What comedian? What happened with what comedian? Oh, is they talking about Jimmy Dore? We're talking about Jimmy Dore? But what did she praise Cuomo and Pelosi about, though? That's what I would want to know. What did she praise them about? Cheryl, you posted about the government who's shoe polishing the scent, and I posted about painting your face, painting on cheek with a butterfly. A big difference from a 5-year-old child face painting rather than an old guy putting. Yeah, no, that's completely different. You can put a butterfly on your face. I don't get that. Hey Ty, tell my black boyfriend to get a car. What city do y'all live in? Praise Pelosi after that, saying that she was a good speaker and a good leader and was very supportive of the new Green Deal. It was done during a live press conference and basically blew the, okay. Well, look, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to watch it. But what I can say, and all you guys should agree with this. All you guys should agree with this. I don't care what you say. You should absolutely agree with what I'm about to say. And if you don't, I think that you're just full of shit, right? There's a lot of times when you are not in it, when you're outside of it, and you're looking from outside of the door, right? You're not in it, you're looking from outside the door. From outside the door, things look fucked up. And not to say that they're not fucked up, that they are, but then you start to think that people are fucked up, and sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But what happens is when you get in close proximity to a person and you get to know a person and see a person, there is something about your perspective of that person changes once you have an interaction. It could be more positive or more negative, but that does start to change when you then start talking to a person. You see what's going on and maybe why you start to, oh, okay. And not to say you're condoning everything. The only thing I'm saying is shit is nuanced. It's nuanced. And we've all not liked the person from a distance and we got to know him oh, he cool, da-da-da-da-da. And you realize that you do like the person. We've all had that before. We have. And I'm not saying you should criticize. I think you should criticize on anything. But I think if Haley was talking about Jimmy Dore and how Jimmy Dore, because he's a comedian, Jimmy Dore is a comedian. That's what comedians do. We can't be that goddamn sensitive where we can't take a joke. Jimmy Dore he doesn't talk bad about people because of their sexuality. He don't talk bad about people because of their race. He talking bad about assholes and people that's inconsistent. And if he feels somebody's inconsistent and he's putting it in a joke form, he's a comedian. It's funny. I was watching Joe Rogan the other day and they had a comedian on. It was like a month ago, probably now. But he was talking about how he did a joke, and the joke, he was talking to this black guy in the audience, and a black guy, he was black and he was gay. And what was the comment? He said, he was like, damn. Oh, he said, he said, now there's no way that we can't say that people that are gay are not born gay. I forgot how he said, but he was insinuating like, you have to be born gay because no one is going to choose to be black and gay because that's a hard life. And if you break down that joke, it's a very progressive joke. It's funny how he said it. It's funny. He was like, I'm saying like, yes, people are right. People don't choose to be gay. You're born gay, which has been the LGBTQ argument the entire time. This is how I've been feeling since I was born. That's a progressive joke and it's funny. He got kicked off a stage in New York for this. That's funny. He's a comedian. I don't get it. You got to check it. You're not even thinking. You're just reacting. That's what I'm saying. No one's thinking anymore. It's just have this group thinking. We just reacting without being curious enough. If you look at that joke, that's a very progressive joke. And it's funny. Because what I'm saying is, yes, they are born. They must be born gay because no one would choose this life because America is so fucked up. It's recognizing how racist and absurd America is. It's recognizing that it's validating the fact that the gay community, when they say that they're born gay, they really mean it. It's a true thing, and it's funny. It's ironic. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's absurd that he got kicked off. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. Like, come on now. Be easy. Be cool. You know, chill out. We can do better. So, let's see what comments we got. I told you I'm gonna start. I get that he's a comedian. He's just not my kind of comedian. And that's understandable if he's not your taste. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't like him because he's not your taste. I get that. That's cool. It's a lot of comedians that I don't think is funny. But it's a difference between not thinking someone's funny and, like, I don't know, criticizing him because he's criticizing someone in a joke form. Like, those are two different things. Like, of course, if he's not your type of comedian, that's, you know, it's just like having a preference with the person that you date. You know what I mean? Is it wrong to have a preference with people you date? You know what I'm saying? I think you can have a preference. Hey, I like short women. I like tall women. I like light-skinned women. I like dark-skinned women. You know what I'm saying? I mean, then am I prejudiced because I prefer certain? That's what I'm attracted to. You know what I mean? I don't know. People argue it. Some people say they get upset. I mean, I used to look at women strange when I was at USC, and they would be like, "Oh, you're the first black person I dated," or something. Almost like, sometimes I took it as if, like, you know, because I wasn't. There's like, you're like different, but different, and not different, like different, but like different in the sense of, oh, you kind of look like what I seen on TV. I don't know. But I would think about it, you know. But I mean, I was at USC. USC, luckily, I got a scholarship to it. But USC, it's like $65,000 a year, and the majority of people there hadn't went to school with a black person until they got to college. You know what I'm saying? Or if they did, it was like two of them in their school because they are like hella rich... So, but is it wrong to have a preference? You know, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so personally. I don't want to say I don't know. That's a lie. I do know. I don't think so. I was watching a documentary the other day on Showtime about I think it was about the LBGTQ community. I think it was on Showtime. Was it on Showtime? I think it was on Showtime. But it was just talking about, relationships and things like that. And talking about how it's discriminatory if you don't want to date like someone that is in the LBGTQ community if you're not LBGTQ. I can't wrap my head around that. I mean, if you're not LBGTQ, how then can that be discriminatory? I don't understand. That throws me off left. That throws me left. I don't understand that. I think that's like telling a gay person you're being discriminatory because you don't want to date a straight person. I don't know. That don't really make sense to me, right? I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. I'm not saying that I'm not open to hearing a great explanation, but their explanation just sound kind of absurd to me a little bit. Because that would then, it's almost like forcing somebody to, like making them feel bad because, it's almost doing exactly what we've been fighting against for the LGBTQ community. Forcing somebody to be something that they're not, right? I would assume that's how I'm taking it. Like it's almost becoming that argument. And this is not, I don't know if the whole community feels like that. This is one lady and one transgender woman in one documentary. But to me, it's almost like adopting the same ideology that we've been fighting against the entire time, right? Is that I should be able to date my preference, what I feel. Am I tripping? Am I taking it wrong? I don't know. I feel it seems I feel like I'm being very open about it, and I'm considering everything, and it really seemed like that's kind of what that argument is doing. That exact thing. It's adopting that and saying, well, you're this because you're not considering that. And that's what people were saying, right? Am I tripping, Haley? Haley said you're crazy. Am I tripping? If I am, help me out. Explain. Oh, genetics, the best chance to continue. Basically, it's about acceptance of people being people. No, Ty, you're not tripping, for sure. Nice redact, though. Yeah, people are people. I don't know if this has to, I don't think my view diminishes or undermines or makes someone feel less than. I don't think. I don't know. I don't think so, though. You know what? I guess if I think about it in another sense, in another term, I don't know. What I'm thinking right now, I'm trying to look at it in the sense of to me, it seems like, what are you guys saying? No, you're not tripping. You're human for sure. Not at all. Ruth, gay brains are the same as straight brains. You're thinking XXY. I don't know what XXY is. Yeah. No, okay. So the thought I have right now is the fact of, so to me, looking, and even to a certain degree myself, right? It seems like, and from that documentary, because the documentary almost explicitly focuses on transgender, transgender males, transgender women, and non-binary, which I'm assuming is, I don't know, fluid. I'm a little ignorant to it, so please forgive me if I'm saying something wrong, because I don't mean to. Because Peacock doesn't like to design my feathers. What? I don't know. They over here going in. Nice redaction. Okay, so this is my art. This is my thought right here. That maybe, because it seemed like the transgender community, and I'm not trying to separate them from the LGBTQ, because I think the Q stands for transgender. So, but I'm talking about them specifically, right? I think because they have a bigger hurdle to get over, in the sense of people being able to understand it, right? Like, understanding is everything. As long as you're open to try to understand, I think that's great. Everyone gets things at different times. It takes a while for people. But I guess maybe her argument could be coming from the fact that it's harder for them to be accepted. Maybe it comes from that. So then, because of her experience, then it seems like for her that it's discriminatory if someone, just because they're transgender, like if they're attracted to them, they meet them and talk to them, find out they're transgender, and then they're like, no, that's discriminatory. And I can understand someone maybe coming up with that conclusion, because that's always their reality. They are always being rejected after someone finds out that they're transgender. And now that argument is understandable, but I think it's the wrong argument still. But I can understand how someone can think that, because it's a continued rejection. You're just like, you're human. Everyone wants to be loved. And I can get it in that regard, in that respect, right? So, yeah, maybe that's it. No crossover are physical characteristics of the brain, not chromosomes. Chromosomes influence. Okay, you guys are getting into it over here. Q stands for queer or questioning. Is queer and questioning the same thing? I thought queer was just another term for gay. Am I tripping? Basically, it's the stand in for everyone that does align any particular gender or sexual norm. Right? They say that trans movement is 20 to 30 years behind the gay movement. So if you remember what being gay was like in the 80s and 90s, I do remember that they are comparable. I absolutely remember what it was like in the 80s and 90s. In the sense of I didn't experience it, so I don't want to try to say I was there riding with them. No, but I understood my mentality and the people that I grew up with, and how we, was like, you can't be around them and don't be bothered with them. But in my neighborhood, there was no one. It's a weird thing, because where I grew up, there was no gay people, and if it was, no one knew about it. I'm sure there was. Obviously, I know it's a guy named Tommy, had a name just like me. He was like 2 doors behind, 2 apartments on the right side of me. We obviously, when he got older, everybody found he was gay, and everybody assumed he was, because he was like, he had, back in those days, we thought, we used to think, I'm just saying plain. I don't want to nobody. That's why I'm stuttering. But he just sounded like a girl. He talked like a girl. He acted like a girl. When we were young, that's how it was. We were ignorant. So he's we thought he was gay, and he ended up being gay later when he felt comfortable enough to come out. But so it never had to deal with. But we had so I understood my mentality, and I've seen hella documentaries. It's one great, really good. If you guys have seen documentaries, and if you haven't seen the CNN documentary on the 80s. It's called The 80s, and they go through the whole AIDS epidemic and what the gay community did to get those drugs. Every time I watch it, I cry. I'm kind of choking up now. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. It reminded me initially, because I was at the day after Trump's inauguration. We was there for the inauguration and everything, and then we went to the Women's March. We was in D.C., and all the people there, just there. It was more people than I've ever seen in one place. And think about that, but like for days in the 80s, because they wanted to live. Like if you saw it, like they used to have these meetings, and people were like, I don't know if I'm gonna see tomorrow. And then like 2 days, a week later, it'll say he died 3 days later. He died a week later. It's crazy. Now, if you guys don't know or not, I may be a little sensitive to it as well, because my father died of AIDS. My father died of AIDS in 1995. I was in jail when he died. But he used to do heroin a lot, and the assumption is that he shared a needle, and he got AIDS like that. And that happened, and we dealt with that. And I remember, and I think one of the reasons why, because that I always get emotional with it, is because I remember when I had been in juvenile hall for about 5-6 months, and I got transferred to this camp, and it was called Twin Pines, and it was up in the mountains. It was like a fire camp. And so I think somehow they found out that my father had AIDS or whatever, and so they wanted me to take an AIDS test, but I guess they couldn't make me. So they was like, hey, we heard your father's in the hospital. We want to take you down there. If you take this AIDS test, we'll take you to get the AIDS test, and then we'll take you to see your father. He's in the hospital. We know you haven't seen him in a while. And I was like, oh, okay, And so they took the AIDS test, and I'm sure they just wanted to make sure I didn't have AIDS, because you got like 200 and something juveniles in this facility that, and they're probably thinking about like, what is, rape and all that. I don't know what they were thinking, but they wanted me to take a test. And so I went to take the test, and I went and saw my father. So mind you, I haven't seen my father in 6 months. We've been talking on the phone, though. Sounds the same, sounds good. I'm like, oh, he's straight. He sounds good. He sounds the same. And I had been talking to him all the time. Like, me and my father got really close when I was in there. I walk in the car, so I go up the stairs. We go to the thing, and I go in this room, and I see him. And he's at least 100 pounds lighter. I had never seen him like this before in my life. It was shock. I remember just sitting there at the door looking. I like stopped. And I remember my father looking at me, and he didn't say anything. He just started crying. Now, mind you, this is probably the third time in my life. At this time, I'm 15 years old. No. At this time, I'm 17 years old. Only the third time in my life that I saw my father cry. And he's like I remember his lip moving like I can remember that. And my mother saying, go give your father a hug. And I gave him a hug and everything. And I was just like shocked, because I thought he was okay, because he sounded the same. And like he was 100 pounds lighter. It was so dramatic for me. And, he ended up dying 3 months later. And, when I see that, it reminds me of that. You know what I'm saying? I guess I got lost in my thing. I guess what I was saying is I'm not familiar with it in a sense, Haley, but sort of familiar with it. And I've seen like a lot of documentaries on it as well. Yes, queer and Q within their community is the same thing. This gender, sexuality. You guys got a conversation going here, huh? Yeah, Sheridan. It was bad. It was bad. It's been bad. Like, it's always bad. You know what I'm saying? During that time, it was bad. When we found out it was bad, it was very difficult. I mean, I get into specifics. It was a difficult, you have to understand, like, the knowledge that we had, the medicine, like it was like none. No, like it was just death. One day my father called me and my brother in the room and was like, I need to tell you something. Your mother and I have HIV. This is in 1993. This is like maybe 8 months after Magic Johnson announced he had AIDS. I remember that night I fell asleep crying. I fell asleep crying because the only thing I knew was death. I thought they were dying. You know what I'm saying? It was a trouble. I mean, this is kind of when, and I know it could have sparked it a little bit. Everything started to spiral. I really got out of hand around this time. I had already been kicked out of school for having a gun. So I don't want to say that it was the catalyst to my troubles, but it definitely didn't help, you know. I started doing more. I ended up running away. For 3 months, I was in Vegas, you know, and it started triggering like seizures, like for some, I don't know how it started happening, but what started happening is my father started would have these random seizures. He just started having. That's how they found out he had AIDS. He was at work and just had a random seizure, and they did a blood test, and that's how they found out that he had it. And so he would have these. Anytime he got a little excited or upset, he would have these seizures. And that was just like, it was crazy. It was amazing. So if you are sex male and no matter what you feel like your gender is still male. Oh, you guys are going. you guys sway. Jesus Christ. No matter what you think your gender is still male. Interesting concept. Different from the norms, meaning the heterosexual. I don't know how to have this argument. That's understandable, Ty. You were young, and that is a serious thing. And that's a serious trauma. It was crazy. Gender identity and sex are two different things. Okay, we can agree with that. Right? Ty, that's part 2 comment. Sorry, okay. See, that's the reason why I also want to get y'all to chime in, because I want y'all, I think this is great dialogue. Whether you think it's a person is, you know, male or, you know, they become woman or whatever. If it's a transgender male, if they're, you know, if it's a transgender, what is it, trans woman? Would it be transgender woman? Transgender male? I mean, I think in that definition, right, that definition almost expresses that you're transitioning. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. The male, I don't know. I would love to have that, but I wouldn't have that argument because I need to understand. To me, it seems like this. It's almost like, okay, we can have the argument. It's, you know, back in the day, they used to argue when Muhammad Ali first changed his name to Cassius. I mean, when Muhammad Ali first changed his name to Muhammad Ali, it was Cassius Clay. And people refused to call him Muhammad Ali because they didn't like what religion, they didn't like Muslims, the black Muslims in America. They refused to call him Muhammad Ali, and they would not call him Muhammad Ali. And the sports writer that he became real close with, Jesus Christ, I can't think of his name right now. What's his name? Cassell, Jewish guy. I can't think of his name. But he was intentional. Wide World of Sports. Worldwide World of Sports. I think that was the name of the show Muhammad Ali would go on all the time. He was intentional about calling him Muhammad Ali because that's what Muhammad Ali wanted to be called. And other people didn't call him Muhammad Ali because they didn't want to, because of what whatever feelings they had about it. But this person wanted to be called Muhammad Ali. So it was a weird thing that they was fighting. I'm like, you're just picking this fight for what reason? Why wouldn't you call him Howard Cosell? Yeah. Why wouldn't you call him Muhammad Ali? Thanks, Letty Set Go Productions. Why wouldn't you call him Muhammad Ali? So to me, it seems like if someone transitions and they are a transgender woman, they feel like, well, like, why? I mean, if you want to have an intellectual argument about biology and things like that, that's understandable. But on a personal note, like, that's how they identify themselves. Like, why not give them that? Like, where's the argument from? Now, I can understand just arguing the fact about something being true or not true in a biological sense. You know, if we're talking about biology, I can understand the argument, but just to plainly refuse to acknowledge a person as who they are and who they identify themselves as, especially after they transition, it almost seems like an argument that you just want to have. And I just, you know, it's almost like, it's weird. It's almost like that. It's almost like Muhammad Ali. People continue to calling him Cassius Clay. When he says, no, I changed my name, it's Muhammad Ali. I am Muhammad Ali. I don't understand why even have that. Oh, I got something in my eye. You know what I mean? It almost seems intentional way to provoke something. Unless you like, you know, having, you know, Jordan Peterson or what's the guy Rogan had on his show today? Sam Harris or something. You know, these guys are like philosophers or whatever, I think. And so they talk differently, even though they lean right. They try to talk as if, no, we're just look like, no, you're looking at it from a conservative perspective. You're not in the middle. No one's stupid. We can tell what side you're on. Not saying that you don't make valid arguments and true statements, but I can tell like what side you're on. I'm listening. I'm not stupid. So yeah, let's go. There's some other stuff. We kind of got caught up in those conversations, but that shit is good. I like that. Muhammad Ali and Howard Cosell, not exactly the best example of the two of them had an adversarial relationship on camera. The boxing events and created excitement, but behind the camera what did they have behind the camera? Well, no, they loved each other behind the camera. They really had a relationship behind the camera. So incredible camaraderie even. No, I know that. No, I think it's a great example. That's a Frail. Is that Sparhawk? If I messed that up, my bad, dog. No, that's a great. I'm not talking about the relationship. I'm talking about the respect of acknowledging who he identifies as. He was the only one that said, I'm going to do it. Like, he was on the national news. He could have been like, you know what? I don't want to lose my viewers. You got to understand, it's about viewership. I don't want to lose my viewers. Wide World of Sports just started. You know what? I'm going to call him Cassius Clay. He was calling him Muhammad Ali, and his lower third would say Cassius Clay because the studio was still putting Cassius Clay until I guess it was a certain point where toward the end of his career started saying Muhammad Ali. But he would like talk to him and say Muhammad Ali, acknowledge Muhammad Ali and identify him. Rather, it's a good relationship, a bad relationship. I'm talking about going against the grain because the people that's watching didn't like it. You know, this public perception, that's why people choose not to do things. It's because the public don't like it because they think it's black nationalism and they think it's a black hate group and all this. And so they go against it and they're like, okay, if you do this, we're not watching your show. And he wasn't concerned about that. And I think it's a great example. Live and let live, you know what I mean? I heard that. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's true. They were like that, and he did call him Muhammad Ali before the rest did. Yeah, so that's my only argument, really. It's just trying to give the example, like, that's who he identified as. Like, I don't understand why. Only thing I can really understand is a physiological, I think that's the word, argument, where you're trying to if you're arguing the truth of a male and a female and what that mean biologically, like I can understand just having the argument because you want to have the argument. There's nothing wrong with having discourse and disagreeing with how we think our social norms should be. Outside of that, I think if a person wants to be identified as this person, it should be respected, and you identify them as that. What does it hurt? Like, how does it hurt you? What happens to you by respecting someone's identity? Change it every fucking day. You know, as long as it's not hurting anyone, what? I don't get it. But anyway, so I had a little Twitter back and forth today with a lady. She's actually, I just found out as I was looking at some of her stuff. She's a Republican, but she's, I don't know her, but she seems nice enough to like engage the conversation. And I loved her, point of view. I kind of think her name was Leah Wright. She's a assistant professor at Harvard. And I think I'm going to be able to interview her in a couple days as soon as she responds back to my email. She's assistant professor for public policy at Harvard University at the John F. Kennedy Center. She's a doctor, got a PhD. Research interests include 20th century United States political and social history and modern African American history. Her work emphasizes race, civil rights, political ideology, and American two-party system and the presidency. Oh, that's great. I think we're going to have a good conversation. So hopefully she responds to my email. But we had a back and forth on Twitter because I saw her on Brooke. And I tried to record it. It got half of it. So I'm going to let you guys see the Brooke interview. And then I'm going to talk about her, like, not answering the fucking question that Brooke asked.
In the span of a single week, 2 of Virginia's top officials have been ensnared in blackface controversies that not only threaten to end their political careers, but also reopened a wound that dates back nearly 200 years in American history. According to the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture, blackface can be traced to the 1830s when the first minstrel shows occurred. And in them, white actors darkened their faces and mocked Southern slaves, depicting them as lazy, cowardly, and hypersexual. The museum notes that those early minstrel shows helped create an entire entertainment industry, one that was built on stereotypes that persist to this day. And we should note that a week before the spectacle in the state of Virginia, that the Florida Secretary of State resigned after these pictures of him in blackface from a party in 2005 were obtained by a Tallahassee newspaper. He was dressed as a victim of Hurricane Katrina just 2 months after the storm ravaged New Orleans. But to be very clear, blackface is not limited to U.S. politics. It rears its head during parties every Halloween, from private parties to college campuses. In 2015, the Intercultural Affairs Council at Yale was so concerned that it emailed students advising them not to dress up in what they called culturally unaware and insensitive costumes, calling out blackface, among other things. And there is also a number of celebrities forced to issue public apologies after making similar decisions. Leah Wright-Rigueur is an assistant professor for public policy at the Harvard Kennedy School. And so, Leah, welcome back. And
always good to be here.
Why do you think this is a lesson that is never learned?
So blackface has this long, complicated racist history, and it emerges as a way to really dehumanize African Americans. It can be used for other racial minorities as well. We see it pop up there, but also a way kind of to infuse this idea of spectacle and ridicule around the idea of blackness, right? So these are highly sexualized people. These are people that deserve to be mocked. They don't deserve respect. And so I think we see this evolve over generations, whereby blackface becomes something that, one section of the population understands is bad, is racist, is hurtful, is dehumanizing. And the other part of the population says, well, no, it just doesn't matter, or I just don't care, and think that they can do this form of ridicule without being caught.
It isn't on the latter half of that group, and many of whom, let's say that if they don't even dress up, it's like, well, they don't fully understand, or many of them claim that it's ignorance as their excuse. But is it, given our nation's history?
I mean, a lot of people are going to claim racial ignorance because they're caught, because their dirty laundry is out in the public. But at the same time, there's this long history of blackface. There are very clear public incidents of, groups protesting blackface, of blackface, these incidents that blow up, and there's a cultural, conversation around blackface. I mean, we have multiple incidents of blackface that have come up in the past couple of months alone, past couple of days alone. And this is in addition to other incidents that have come up, in October. I mean, even if we move it out of the realm of hard politics, you can look at Gucci, which just had a blackface incident this week, Prada, which had one a couple of months ago, and see that, claiming cultural ignorance is no longer an option. And instead, what we have to look at is, why do people think that they won't get caught, or why is this okay?
Well, I wanted to ask you about your tweet, Leah. You said, are people shocked by the blackface or shocked that folks get caught? To your point, which do you think it is?
I think the real, what's underneath this is the shock that people get caught. And so there are a couple of things, as we think about this. One,
Yeah, that's it. The recording stopped in the middle of it. So, yeah. So who said that? Somebody said that, a trans male is a woman who identifies as a man. Trans man is a male who identifies as a woman. Sounds logical. Okay, so that's the lady that I tweeted out. I tweeted at her after I saw the interview, and I'm like, okay, you didn't answer the question, because Brooke asked why have people done it? Why is it coming out? Is it ignorance? Do people not understand or not sensitive towards it? Why is that? And to me, I didn't feel that she answered it right, because I think it's plain. The reason why people don't have the sensitivities that they need to have toward it, and they can compartmentalize racism and say, oh, maybe a person that'll do blackface will look at some picture of a person in a Klan outfit in blackface and say, that's racist. But me having this blackface ain't really racist, because I'm just being, and how they can try to compartmentalize it. It's because history that we're taught in school is just a lie. You know what I'm saying? Or half of it is omitted. You know what I mean? Black people aren't involved. You still, when you go to college, higher learning, you still have to take a specialty course to understand black history. And black history is American history. You know what I mean? And I think that's the real reason. It's the same reason that we continue to celebrate 4th of July, because we don't want to forget. The reason that's taught in our history books, because we don't want to forget. We want to understand what it took for our forefathers to get this country, to develop this country, to get everyone together, to go and to be able to push forward our own ideologies and how we wanted to run this country. The reason that we continued every year is so generation after generation, they'll get it. They'll understand the significance of it. The reason why we have Thanksgiving, and the reason why that story is told the way it's told, and we continue to celebrate it every year, because they want that truth, their truth, which is a lie, to be perpetuated and to be passed on from generation to generation. That's why every year it's acknowledged. Every year it's intentional to keep it in our minds. We talk about it in history books. It's intentional to have our kids grow up and understand how significant these days are, what we've done. And the reason why people don't understand blackface and what that did, and how it, even after Reconstruction, how it changed policy in the South, Jim Crow, how it allowed people to think that killing a black man because someone claimed that they were raped was honorable. How Emmett Till was lynched and burned because some lady lied, a white woman, and said that he raped him. They felt like they did the honorable thing. They masked racism with honor. And it was okay. People grouped up. Thousands of people saw and watched, and no one went to jail, and it was okay. It was okay to shoot your slave if he ran away, and then you'll be compensated from the government for that slave. This is the 1600s. This was law. This was written in the law. You guys look it up. Google it. This is a true story. But we don't know that because we didn't put it in the history books intentionally, because we wanted to sweep it under the rug. We didn't want to talk about it. And we'll never get over racism in this country until we change the history books and we talk about it. People understand, they have more sensitivity towards it. They'll get why it hurts so much. The majority of times that people are aggravated, vacuums are created, is because people feel like they're not heard and they're not understood. And when you try to dilute their history and their contribution to a country, when you try to put them in a closet, at some point they explode. Gay people aren't in the closet anymore. At a point they exploded. Said, no, I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of not being myself. I'm tired. We're going to do it, and I'm just going to have to die because I'm not living like this anymore. Same thing that happened with slaves. I'm not doing it. I'm ready to die. Let's go to war. Let's go. The reason why some slaves fought on the British side during the Revolutionary War, because part of that was you will then be free. You know what I mean? The only way we address it is talk about it. You have to. Can't sweep it under the rug. If you're in a relationship and you have some issues and things come up and someone makes you feel a certain way, your girlfriend makes you feel a certain way, your boyfriend makes you feel a certain way, and you just, oh, it's okay, and then it continues to happen, all of a sudden it blows up. You know why? Because you never addressed it. That's what happens. Because you never address the issue. Yeah, there are going to be issues in relationships all the time, but you address them and you go to the next issue. That's what happens when you get two different human beings that grew up two different ways and have two different perspectives, but it can last and you can grow together if you communicate and address things, because they do come up. But if you sweep it under the rug, it can't last, because at some point, someone's going to blow up and you're going to start to resent people. And that's what I felt. And I tweeted at him. We kind of went back and forth on Twitter. And we agreed. I think we both kind of was saying the same thing in a different way. And I was like, man, I wish we could talk. And I asked her, could I interview her? She said, yeah, so hopefully we can get that. And so I can interview her and then you guys can see it and talk to her. But that's the only way we're going to get over racism is to talk about it and address it. To yell, to hurt, to cry, to go through it. It's hurtful. It's a hurtful past. People died, man. People are still dying. You know what I'm saying? This country was built on racism. It's it's in the flag. You can't have something where the inception starts on racism. It's almost like you can use whatever argument of that anyone's having, like with the LGBTQ community. Some people are saying, oh, well, no, I think somebody said it's a trans male is a woman that became a male, and a trans woman is a man that became a woman. Like, this is a racist country that is trying to get out, but the birth of it is racism. So that's it. It's going to stay just like the Constitution is staying. It's going to stay, just like everything that happened at the beginning of this country has been perpetuated and been remembered so we can celebrate it. It's staying there until we address it. Because it's a part of you know what I'm saying? It's a part of who we are. If I was born with my leg being bow-legged, I can't just say, oh, start walking straight. I'm going to continue to be bow-legged until we go to the hospital, they break my legs, put me in a cast and put them straight to make my bones straight, and then it's straight. But if you don't do that, I'm going to continue to be bow-legged. That's not going to change. If I wear different pants, if I wear a dress, if I do anything to try to hide it, if I put a blanket on my legs, I'm still going to be bow-legged. It's still going to be there until I address the issue. We have to. We got to address these issues, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all feel me on that, right? Who insulting you, Sheridan? Still a troll. Everybody's insulting everybody. Like, if I assume Ty is a good rapper because he's black, that is racist. No, that's funny. It's racist, but in a funny way. It's like the funny part of racism. But yeah, it's racist. Just because I'm black. It's a lot of white people that's better than me, but I'm assumed. I don't know, it'd probably be a good thing I could make some money. Sometimes people ignorance work out for other people. Real talk. True. The whole damn country is founded on racism. The very fact that the Constitution and founding laws were created by white men who owned black slaves, like, yeah, livestock, yeah. It is part of the fabric, yeah. It's completely part of the fabric of this country. That's from a frail Sparhawk. Yeah, it's a part of the fabric, man. It's a part of the fabric. I mean, in the Bill of Rights, they tried to address racism and then they fought to take it out because they didn't want that. They understood what it was. The reason we have the 3/5 compromise. Like, that's part of the inception of the country. That's the birth of a nation right there. The 3/5 compromise. Some people think the 3/5 compromise was you saying, oh, black people are only 3/5 of a person. I mean, you can say that, but the heart of it was for control to be able to continue slavery. The more slaves you have, the more representation you have in Washington. The more people you have in the House of Representatives. So if I got more slaves, so the compromise was, okay, some people have less slaves, so this is how we'll do. For every 5 slaves, we'll count them as 3 slaves, because then that equates the number of representatives you'll have in a certain state, right? That's what we know. So the more representatives you have, the more you can get in Washington, the more we can then perpetuate this institution of slavery. We can continue to push this thing forward. It was about that. I wasn't even considered a person. We had to do that just so they can have representation. But I wasn't, 3/5 of a person was way too much to give me. At that time, I wasn't shit. So, you know, it is what it is. But we got to talk about it though. Right? And you guys understand that, but I love to talk about it with some people that disagree with, like, affirmative action and things like that, because, you know, I want to hear what they got to say, because I have a point of view on it, and I know they do, and I think it's something that can be discussed, because, affirmative action is a reaction. It wasn't just put in place. It was a reaction based on things that were happening. And you know how what people say, you can kill the messenger, but you can't kill the message, right? You can kill the messenger, but you can't kill the message. With ISIS, you can kill, with the Taliban, not the Taliban, but Al-Qaeda, you can kill Osama bin Laden, but you can't kill the message. which is ISIS. Because ISIS comes out of the message, right? We killed Osama bin Laden with Al-Qaeda, but we couldn't kill the message. We were able to compromise and come to some conclusion with the Taliban, but through that message came Al-Qaeda, right? Through Al-Qaeda then came ISIS. Like, you can't kill the message. People die that were slave owners. People die that were racist. People die that were separatists or separatist sympathizers. But they taught their kids that. You can't kill the message. You can't kill how somebody views someone. They have to change that on their own. And if their only interaction with whoever they feel is less than them is something that they see on TV, like President Bush during the 1992 riots in LA, he was like, what happened to Rodney King? He said, oh, I didn't even know there was still racism. The only way you would think that in 1992 there wasn't racism in this country, in 1992, because that was as racist as it got, like during my period where I saw it. If you couldn't see that, that means you're not around black people and you're in a bubble. But that's what I'm saying. If you're in a bubble and your only interaction with black people is based on things you see on TV, but maybe you know one black person that's in the federal courts, you know what I'm saying, or something like that, and he don't even have interaction with black people and what black people face with the police, then what do? You got someone saying, I didn't even know there was still racism. The president of these United States. You know, and so then his perception of black people come from what he see on TV, what's been in the news, you know what I'm saying? Things like that, which is an ill interpretation, right? Your only interaction with Hispanics is what you see on TV, what you hear Trump say. Ill and false interpretation. Your only interaction with Muslims is CNN and what you hear Fox say. Ill interpretation of Muslims in this country. So then those ideas and those prejudices, your only interpretation of gay people is what you heard in church. And then your interaction is what people are saying in church, what you read in the Bible. Guess what? You have an ill interpretation of the LGBTQ community. But if you're not confronted by them and your thoughts aren't confronted and you're only around people that think like you, guess what? When you get into power, you still have that stinking thinking. I don't know how we don't get that. So there's a reason that affirmative action is put in place, because ideals live even when the messenger dies. Right? Exactly. Y'all feel me? What we talking about? Too many people live based on their own experiences and don't actively attempt to. Oh yes, because you have to be active. Who was that? Sheridan Jones. Too many people live based on only on their experiences and don't actively attempt to practice empathy. Absolutely. Empathy only comes from experience. You have to experience that, right? If I've never been raped, guess what? I can only have a certain empathy because I've never been raped. But I can't. That's why people always ask, well, why didn't you say it 10 years ago? Why are you just coming out now? Or, you know, they have they're skeptics of an accuser. That's because they've never been raped. They don't understand what it does to you. They don't understand how you go through. Was it my fault? Did I do it? Should I have? All these things, the embarrassment. Like, they don't understand the nuance of it. So then they ask these insensitive questions. It's because they didn't have that experience. And everyone has that. Everyone has that. So you're not a bad person because you have it. But like she said, you have to actively. You have to be active. When we're talking about walking in someone's shoes, when you say, I want to walk in your shoes. When you walk in someone's shoes, you should have no rebuttal. Because when you walk in their shoes, you have to feel what they feel. They don't rebuttal how they feel. That's how they feel. They don't then say, oh, I got a counter argument to how I feel. No, it's how they feel. So if you truly empathize and want to walk in someone's shoes, there should be no rebuttal and all compassion because you're trying to understand. The objective is to understand. The intention is to understand. And a lot of times, fortunately, especially for rape victims, when some people don't go through it, it's fortunate that they didn't go through it. But they need to recognize that there's a certain, your understanding level it stops at a certain level just because you didn't experience it. It's a difference between thinking about it and hearing it and experiencing it physically and mentally. And it's nuanced. And it's hard to wrap your head around if you haven't experienced it. It's hard to wrap your head around the experience of a Hispanic. It's hard to wrap your head around the experience of a black person. It's hard to wrap your head around the experience of a person that's in the LGBT community. It's hard to wrap your head around it if you haven't experienced having to go through what they went through. That's why I always have trouble with understanding black people having, black evangelicals and Christians and Baptist Christians having issues with gay people when what they going through and the justification coming from the Bible is exactly what they did with us. So, it's hard for me to wrap my head around how black people not all black people, obviously, but I think Christians for sure don't connect it to at all. And even with some black people, because I'm black, so I get it. That's why I'm talking about black people, because I can speak for black people why they don't. I know a lot of black people that, Mexicans are X, Y, and Z. What the fuck are you talking about? You sound just like the same people that were saying that about us back then. Are you serious? It blows my fucking mind. Love live chat. I hope Ty takes the mic more often. Loving the live chat with Ty. Thanks for coming on tonight. Good conversation. I appreciate that glowing SME. Whatever that is. Victoria. You can have empathy. You can have empathy for things you don't experience, though. It's not a magical power. It takes cognition and emotional intelligence. Victoria, I agree partially. I think that's way too black and white to say that. I don't agree with everything. You have to. I agree that it takes all those things, but the connotation, how I'm taking what you're saying, the spirit of what you're saying is there's no excuse that men don't understand what women go through when they're raped. And there is an excuse why men don't understand, especially if they haven't been raped. Now, if you've been in prison and you've been raped, I bet you that man will understand that woman way more than any other man. But yes, you can have empathy, and I said you can have empathy, Victoria, but to a point. To a point, because you haven't experienced it. You can empathize, but it's limited. And that's why women have such a hard time with trying to get through to men that haven't been raped, and they're asked all these questions of why didn't you, and this and that, and X, Y, Z. I'm not saying that all women that say that they've been raped and always tell the truth. I've experienced with my friends with women lying. I know that, so I get that. But that's far few and in between. It's not a lot. But every woman is questioned. And I guarantee every woman that's questioned, every man that they're questioned by has not been raped. So even the most compassionate, only to a level. But when you recognize that, it gives you more empathy. So I guess in a sense, Victoria, I do understand, because if you recognize that your capacity to empathize is limited because it allows in more empathy and more openness to really just have more of an intention to understand why we're here 20 years later just now hearing about this. Right? Tyra would be like asking, this is from Cheryl, Tyra would be like asking you to plug your ears to not hear what you normally hear. Listening is definitely then really hearing people deeply. Yeah, no, absolutely. Of course. Absolutely. I feel you on that. Blows my mind too, Ty. What up, Sway? Where's Sway at? No. You don't have to be raped to understand being raped. You don't have to be raped, Victoria, to understand. Maybe I know I'm being misunderstood, or maybe we're just lost in translation. You don't have to be raped to understand being raped, but you have to be raped to understand the nuances of being raped. The psychological nuances of being raped. Someone that hasn't been raped will say, I would have went to tell my father. I would have went to tell my mother. I would have went to the police. They would say that because they understand, but then they would say things, well, why didn't you do that? I think I told you guys this before. I was touched on and approached when I was a kid. The first time I publicly, I never told my mother, never told my father. I told my sister years later, and the first time I expressed it really was when I was at USC. This is like 20 years later after it happened, when I told someone it was a girl that I told that I was talking to at the time. And she had expressed something that had just happened to her. And I felt like I didn't deserve what she gave me because we had just met and she had told me that she was raped. And so I told her something that I had never really told anyone. And then I expressed it. The next time I ever expressed it was with you guys, like months ago. I remember I was on my balcony and I talked about it. And I went through, am I gay? Was it me? Did I do something to make him touch my thing? You know what I'm saying? All these things, for him to approach me, I went through all that throughout my life. I went through it, questioned, and did all those things. So it's way more than just understanding the action of being raped. You got to understand what that does to someone psychologically. You know? Right. Yeah, I'm talking about victim blaming. Yeah. A lot of times, even if they don't know that they're blaming the victim, and I think that's because of lack of understanding, and that's due to not experiencing it. And I don't think it's intentional. And sometimes it's not victim blaming. I think sometimes it's victim blaming. Sometimes it's really just not understanding. We do have to say, okay, some people don't understand. I don't think that makes them a bad person because they're really rationalizing I get it, but why then? Because they really feel that way. They can't be demonized if they actually can't wrap their mind around, some people don't go that far. They don't go that deep and say it's nuance. Sometimes you got to connect those dots. You know what I mean? AOC today, when the video I showed, she was connecting dots for a 5-year-old. She made it very plain what's fucked up in our system. So then everyone sees it, right? She made it plain. Conservatives as well as liberals can see that and be it's not complicated but it had to be pointed in a direction. It's unfair to say every time someone is not understanding that it's victim blaming. I think it's unfair to just say that every time someone doesn't understand that it's victim blaming. Sometimes they really are just not considering everything, and it's not an easy thing to consider everything. I think for me, it has to do with a lot of my experiences in life that I've been able to do that and been open to things, opening to understanding things, and a lot of it had to do with rebelling, with feeling like my parents, having an attitude with them and starting to question everything they did because of how I felt about them at a certain period of my life. You know what I'm saying? I think it had a lot to do with a lot of different things that opened my mind to go deeper, to be more curious, you know what I'm saying? To consider things outside of my own way of thinking. Like, I don't grab things in my life and then throw them away. They stay with me. They're stored. I grab a hold of those things when other things come up in the present that I use then to help try to deal with whatever's going on with me. You know what I mean? So I think, a lot of people just don't have that, and that doesn't necessarily make them bad. It just makes them unaware and ignorant, and not in a bad way, but in a literal way. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna see if I can get my light. I feel like y'all can't see me. There we go. Just want to make sure y'all can see me while it's getting dark. Grab one of these books. Y'all see this book? Coons, Tunes, Mulattoes, and Mammies. This is a good book about film, black people in film in these United States of Americas. There we go. Wow, that's really bright. Let's turn it down a little bit. Okay, there you go. There you go. All right. There you go. So, now you can see my face. I still feel like it's blurry. Let's see if we turn this off. No, that looked way too dark. There we go. That's good. So, yeah. Sway Ocean, my boy. Yes, you're wrong. Your history is mostly accurate, but it doesn't apply to today. Today's justice system is non-racist. Probably a long conversation to prove that to Ty. That is going to take a long conversation to prove that the justice system is non-racist. Sway Ocean. And I would love to have that conversation. Actually, Sway, you'll be the first one that once we get this situated, you'll be the first one that I've always wanted to talk to you. But that will be a hard argument for you, player. Do me a favor right now, though, Sway. Just give me one reason right now, one specific reason that you feel that our current system is non-racist, Sway. Let me know that. Just give me one so I can know. Maybe you know something I don't. I'm open. I'm open, player. Let's see. I don't know if you guys saw today. They had a Senate meeting, House meeting about HR 8, and you guys know about how I feel about guns and background checks, and HR 8 is to me, I think it's some really good legislation, really. what it does is, see if I can pull it up so you guys can see it. I was trying to do the browser earlier, and it was tripping on me. So let's see if I can get it right, because I don't want just, this is crazy. Because it doesn't even let you, I can put the thing in, but it doesn't let you like move it or nothing. Okay, maybe, all right, let's see. Window capture device, image, color source. Which one is this? Definitely not the window, right? Why would I want that? Oh, yeah, it is for sure. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? That's exactly what I want. Okay. So, so HR 8. This is actually a conservative reasons. Free mind, free market. Understand, anytime you see any type of publication that has to do with freedom, it's definitely biased and it's conservative. And this one's conservative. You can read it and tell that it's right leaning, but it says the same thing. It's just, leaning toward the right. Textual analyst of HR 8 bill to require a background check for every firearm sales. This week, Representative Mike Thompson introduced HR 8. According to title, the bill is to require a background check for every firearm sale. The bill does not, and a great deal more. The bill does that and a great deal more. Are you guys? Oh, I didn't change it over. I'm sorry. Okay. HR 8 requires that loans, gifts, and sales of firearms be processed by the gun store. So what they're saying is, if you loan someone a gun, whether it's in your family or otherwise, you have to go to the gun store and process it the same way that you would process a newly purchased gun. When you first purchase a gun, you would have to go through that, which I think is great. The same fees, paperwork, and permits record keeping applies as buying a new gun from the store. If you loan a gun to a friend without going to the gun store, the penalty is the same as for knowingly selling a gun to a convicted felon. Likewise, when the friend returns the gun, another trip to the gun store is necessary upon felony. I think that's great. I think it's great. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's great. Hey, you 100% open? I mean, to a degree. Back in the day, if I borrowed a gun, I think this is perfect. This is perfect. You know what I'm saying? Because then that eliminates the loopholes as well. You can't say then at a gun show, oh, I'm a private collector, and now, because as a private collector now it's been like this, but as a private collector at a gun show, you don't have to require anything but a state ID to sell a person all kind of guns, period. You don't have to do background checks or nothing if you consider yourself a gun collector. And that eliminates that. I think it's amazing. It doesn't take away your guns. Yes, you have to pay the penalties. You have to pay bills. Why not? And you see the reason that you can tell it's left leaning because the HR 8 applies to the gun store, to the gun show loophole as well. But in this publication, it's talking about your family. So what it's saying is going to be inconvenient. So now, if I loan my family member a gun, we got to go to the gun store, do the paperwork, pay the taxes, and then if he gives the gun back, yes. Because if somebody get killed that's not supposed to get killed, then we need to know who had it and when they had it. Absolutely. That'll encourage you to do the right thing. Just like, and it also has in there some provisions. Like if you're in immediate danger, you do not have to do that. That's great. If you're in immediate danger, you don't have to go to the gun store. You just give the gun and go, shoot or whatever. Unfortunately, they have, stand your ground. We talked about this the other day in a lot of states where you can stand your ground and you can shoot somebody. It took that into consideration. Very conservative stance. But look how they phrase it, though. A clever trick in H.R. 8 effectively banned handguns to persons 18 to 20. Okay, that's amazing. We think that they shouldn't have alcohol until 21. Why do we want them to have a gun? We feel that a person that's under 21 may be more at risk of killing themselves by drinking and driving, or for whatever reason, we assume that they shouldn't have alcohol until 21. Why then will we give them an object that's made to kill before 21? Makes perfect sense. The bill has some narrow exceptions. They call it narrow exceptions. That's how you know it's conservative. The exceptions do not cover stalking victims. So stalking victims also excluded are farmers and ranchers sharing guns on almost all public and private lands. NS stores guns with friends while on vacation. The limit exceptions for families include first cousins and in-laws, which is amazing. And minuscule exceptions for self-defense includes stalking victims. Thank you. So stalking victims can get a gun without having to go to a gun store. Your close family members, first cousins, in-laws can get it. They're part of the exception. This bill authorizes unlimited fees to be imposed by regulations. Unlimited fees to be imposed. It's just the same fees you would pay if you bought a gun. Makes perfect sense. There are partial exceptions for immediate self-defense. There are partial exceptions for immediate self-defense. The temporary transfer that is necessary to prevent immediate death or great bodily harm if possession by the transfer lasts only as long as the immediate necessary to prevent immediate death or great bodily harm. I feel like I explained that. I read that completely crazy. But what it's saying is, if you're in immediate harm, you have an exception. You can get that gun for as long as you're in immediate danger, imminent danger, right? So you can immediately have that gun. The narrowness of the self-defense exception endangers domestic violence victims. For example, a former domestic partner threatens a woman and her children. An attack might come in the next hour or the next month or never. The victim and her children cannot know because the attack is uncertain and is certainly not immediate. The woman cannot borrow a handgun from the neighbors for her defense. Many domestic violence victims do not have several hundreds of spare dollars so that they can buy their own gun. Okay, so that's a terrible argument, right? I think it's a terrible argument. Think about it. It's saying, for example, just let me read it again so you can get it. And I'll go step by step. Narrow. So, for example, a former domestic partner threatens a woman and her children. An attacker might come in the next hour, the next month, or never. The victim and her children cannot know because the attack is uncertain and certainly not immediate. The woman cannot borrow a handgun from her neighbors for her defense. Many domestic violent victims do not have several hundred spare dollars to buy a gun. So they're in immediate danger. So let's say if they think it's going to happen in the next hour, then they feel like they're in immediate danger. They just got threatened. They go get a gun from their neighbor. It didn't happen in the next hour. They have the gun. Now they can say, okay, look, can we go? Can I borrow your gun? Let's go register it so I can have this. Do you mind me holding this gun? Yes, you can have it. Let's go. You're in immediate danger. Yeah, it may seem inconvenient, but you know what? If someone has a heart attack and you was about to go to work, then you got to go to the hospital because they have a heart attack. Those things happen, and things change, and it's inconvenient. But you have to go to the hospital and not go to work because someone you love just had a heart attack. If all of a sudden someone you love or care about is threatened, then it's a little inconvenient to now that I need the gun more than an hour because it's not immediate that we go do the registration and pay the tax. The tax is just for the paperwork. The paperwork is like $25 or something. Then you do that. Yeah, it's a little inconvenient, but it works. And it could work. And you got this asshole arguing and making victims of the Parkland shooting, the parents just pointing at them and like agitating them and just saying, and almost, this is what he's saying. Instead of H.R. 8, because the biggest threat to America as far as guns is illegal immigrants. So let's use this money to build the wall, right? The biggest argument that conservatives have, or any gun right activists have, any proponents of building gun rights advocates have. Like, we don't need new laws. Let's just use the laws that's on the books. We're not enforcing the laws on the books. That's their argument. Let's enforce the laws on the books. Well, if that's the case, if you just want to enforce the laws on the books, you know what? We don't need to build a wall. Just enforce the laws on the books. There's things that we can be doing, that we can be enhancing with surveillance. Let's enforce those. Because we have laws in the surveillance and that we can do. Okay, we enforce those by putting more money in that. That's the same argument. Let's just enforce the laws on the books. We don't need to build a wall. We just enforce the laws on the books for immigration. Yeah. You don't see the hypocrisy in it, though, huh? I do. But here go that video so y'all can check it out.
As we hear the stories and circumstances for those here, I hope we do not forget the pain and anguish and sense of loss felt by those all over the country who have been the victims of violence at the hands of illegal aliens. H.R. 8 would not have stopped many of the circumstances I raised, but a wall, a barrier on the southern border may have, and that's what we're fighting for. Mr. Chairman. Well,
gentlemen will suspend. Everyone here is here as a guest of the committee. Yes. And no matter what you think of what any member of the committee may say, or any witness for that matter, you must not comment or otherwise demonstrate.
Mr. Chairman, may I have my time restored?
Your time will be restored.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. And so again, I think that was a rather instructive moment for the committee, Mr. Chairman, because as we gather here in Washington, there are a divergent series of views and inputs and thoughts. And my concern is that by adopting H.R. 8, we actually stifle the innovation that could lead to better public safety outcomes if we allowed states and local communities to deal with the challenges my great state of Florida has. And so again, I hope that we'll deal with all of the drivers of violence. The greatest driver of violence in the circumstances that I indicated was not the firearm. It was the fact that we have an immigration system that allows people to come here violently. We engage in...
There will be no comments or demonstrations, please.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Who's it?
Is there any committee rule or a point of parliamentary inquiry? Is there any committee rule that prevents a member of Congress from reciting false statements in a committee hearing that are unsupported by the evidence? that are unsupported by the evidence, or are members of Congress entitled to just make things up in support of specious arguments? It's a parliamentary inquiry.
I'm not aware, off the top of my head, since I haven't researched this question, I'm not aware of any such rule. I would also observe that the factuality of any statement is always subject to contest by someone who disagrees with it. And at a hearing such as this, if a member makes a statement that is not borne out by the facts, it's the prerogative of another member, when his turn comes, to comment on that or to point out his opinion or her opinion as to its truth or falsity.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, my colleagues.
Mr. Chairman, no.
I believe I still control the time.
Mr. Chairman.
One moment. It is never permissible for members of the audience to comment or vociferously to object. This is a hearing for members of Congress and for the witnesses. Everyone else is here as an observer and must not participate in any way other than by observing.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I make a point of order against the gentleman for vote. I make a point of order that the gentleman's words were unparliamentary because they implied the lying or the falsehood of a member. Now, if he wants to go there, then we'll take words down.
I would rule the gentleman's point of order not well taken because because there was not an accusation.
Did he not?
Excuse me, let me finish. There was not an accusation of falsity by another member. There was simply an inquiry as to rules regarding that subject.
Did he not make the statement that he was asking that the member was making us how to stop a member from making false statements? Did he or did he not?
My recollection, we could have it read back, but I don't think that's necessary, is that he simply asked about the rules that we use when if a member makes a false statement, which is an inquiry. It is not a direct accusation that a member made a false statement.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would just recommend that line got so far up that there was no way to see if it was crossed. He got so close to that line that he couldn't tell if he was over it or not. So I think we need to continue to watch. We'll let the gentleman continue, but this needs to happen in an orderly way. We have differences of opinion. Those differences of opinion need to be expressed, and when those differences are messed up, we need to stay in a parliamentary procedure. This is not going to result in just complete yelling and accusing of each other.
Well,
that's what you're talking for. He's got 5 minutes coming up. He can say whatever he wants to say.
Yelling is out of order, obviously, yelling by members of the audience. The inquiry by a member did not violate the rules because it was not a direct accusation against another member. How much time does the member have left?
I do have one secondary parliamentary question.
The gentleman will state
as it's been stated in the past. As it was stated in the past, Mr. Chairman, when members of the audience disrupt this, they are typically escorted out. Is that going to be the position of this chair, or are we going to continue to allow?
Clause 2K4 of Rule 11 provides that, quote, the chair may punish breaches of order and decorum by censure and exclusion from the hearings. This rule has been construed to afford the chair the discretion to enforce decorum in the committee room, including through removal of disruptive members of the public. My preference is not to invoke this response at this time, but please consider this a warning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your clarification.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of parliamentary inquiry.
This gentleman will state his point of parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, is there a process in the committee whereby if the very same people are repeatedly interrupting the time of the members, that those people will be asked to depart the committee, or is there?
I will, excuse me, if the gentleman repeats that or any other comment, I will directly be removed. I will directly be removed if he repeats it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd observe that's 3 interruptions of my time by the same individual, and that the chair is not utilizing his discretion.
He's an asshole. He got cut off. He's an asshole. It's funny though. This thing is broke, man. I've been trying to hit it. Anyway, y'all, I mean, so look, I like some of the comments. So Cheryl said, Cheryl said, that's not the way to defend yourself. So you lock your doors, preventative does work. It's like telling a kid to take Taekwondo and self-defense courses. First off, I love how she spelled Taekwondo. No, Cheryl, so first off, just let me say that I am not in the group of taking, like disarming the country. I'm not in that group. I'm just not. I think if you are a legal gun owner and you have guns, I don't have an issue with it personally. I do have an issue with people that don't supposed to have guns, having them. I am in a party that says you need to have very intense background checks to make sure that these people can have guns. I'm in that party. I think you need to have common sense gun laws that regulates, and you need to have properly staffed ATF to be able to do the work. You also need to have a digitized system that has a directory of everyone, a registry that everyone hates. I'm for that. So it won't take a year just to find some paperwork from a gun that was bought in 1992 that was found in a murder in 2010. Because that's how it is with the ATF right now in this country. But no, I disagree, Cheryl. I've interviewed women, and I've showed you guys sections of making the killing guns greeting the NRA. I've interviewed women where their door has been kicked down. And just locking the door, their door has been shot in and kicked down, and they were shot to be killed. So locking the door is not preventative. But having a gun can definitely put a person on neutral ground. And that being said, I think it's a great idea because normally they leave and come back. Leave and come back. You need that gun, you borrow that gun if you don't have your own, and you can borrow the gun. And then you're an immediate is not knowing too. Also, that's immediate danger. He just threatened me and said he's going to kill me. Immediate danger is subject to perception as well. It's very general. It's a very general statement. So immediate can mean right now, and it also can mean he said he's coming back. Maybe he lives an hour away. That's immediate danger of your life. It is. You know what I'm saying? What else we got? The NRA is funded by, you're absolutely right. The NRA is funded by the gun manufacturers, and that's why you have 80% of the NRA members are for common sense gun laws, but the NRA continues to go left and don't support it. It's because their agenda is to the gun manufacturers. The more scared people are that their gun's going to be taken, the more guns that they're going to buy. Period. And that's what they do. And gun sales go skyrocketing. And that was Ruth Rudin. Feel you on that. Sadly might makes right. It's just a fact. Without being armed, the masses cannot take power in society. I mean, I don't look at it in that way, but, I don't think people should be disarmed just to be disarmed because another country did it. I think that we could be in a country that have guns and have them regulated where the things that are happening won't happen. I think people use guns to hunt with. A lot of people hunt. Just because you don't hunt doesn't mean you don't supposed to take into consideration that a lot of people do hunt. They do. It's a sport. I think we in New York and Los Angeles live in a bubble. Large part of this majority of the country want guns. And a lot of times it's to protect themselves, protect their family, And a lot of times they need that protection because, like domestic, but there need to be laws to obligate people to lock their guns up so you won't have accidental deaths by guns, because those skyrocket. Background checks where people can have to wait, because a lot of people commit suicide, and a lot of times they hadn't had the gun within an hour after they purchased the gun. They've killed themselves because it's an impulse. But if you had made them wait, maybe someone could have got to them. They could have talked to someone, and maybe they could still be alive. You know what I mean? It's a sad fact. This is Paul. It's a sad fact that crime and murder will always exist is not an excuse to carry more and more dangerous weapons. It solves nothing. Yeah. Crime does exist. Having more and more guns, does it allow people to not have crime? I'll say this, and you can take it. Ooh, I had to kill it. I'll say this. Who was that said that? Paul, my boy. I'll say this, and you can take it for what it is. When I was in Ferguson last October, we got arrested. Not last October, the October before last, when we got arrested. They have a large percentage. They have a large percentage of police shootings. It's an open carry state. When we were there, and when people had guns that were protesting, and they had them out, they wasn't getting pepper sprayed. And the people that had the guns followed the law and what the police told them to do, but they wasn't getting boxed in these, I forgot what they would call them, but what would happen is the riot police would come and box them in, and it's like where they couldn't get out. They couldn't disperse or nothing. Start pepper spraying them and pull them slamming them on the ground and things like that. When none of the protesters wasn't open carrying. Every time they had a protest and a person had open carry, had a rifle, they didn't have that issue. So I would say a lot of times just showing that you have a weapon as well will then prevent someone that will easily try to shoot you first. They'll think about it because you have a gun too. The police will think about it. That's a real reality. I mean, I didn't know that until I went and did some interviews and protests in an open carry state. It's intimidating. It's very intimidating. But it keeps the police in check. It does. And I think that's a part of a lot of the gun right activist argument is that, they scared that the police going to run amok and the government is going to run amok. And it does keep them in check because they see that there's a gun out here. There's people with rifles out here that can legally carry them. And they were carrying it with the protesters. But you don't have that perspective so I can understand people not really getting that because I didn't have the perspective until I was there and I saw it and I saw what happened. Like we saw the footage before we got there. We saw this was happening all the time. It's called a kettle. They will put them in a kettle. You guys, what is his name? Shoot, Z something Z, Red Z, Rez Z. Shoot, it's a journalist that does a lot of footage of protests in Ferguson, Missouri, right? Ferguson is right next to St. Louis. Reb Z, R-E-B-Z. If you guys want to look him up on YouTube, you'll see his videos and just type in kettle and you'll see how to pull. I'm going to see if I can show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Then you get a better understanding. Reb Z. Kettle. X, I put Reb X. It's because his name is Rebel Z. So it's go R-E-B-Z. So it's like Reb Z, then Keto. Let's see. That's kind of amazing. Look at this. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it. Hold on. If you guys can see that they turn it down just a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see this. That let me see if the audio's working. Audio's working? Oh, it's right here. So, mic check. Okay. So if y'all can see.
I'm going down. Get your hands behind your back! Put your fucking hands behind
See? And that is what a lot of the left, a lot of the right are afraid of. And this is a real thing. This thing happens. I saw it happen. I never saw a kettle like this. I've seen a lot of protests. I've been to a lot of protests. Never saw a kettle where they would tell you, disperse, disperse, but then they'll lock you in where you can't disperse. I'm trying to see where do they have the one where me and Jordan get arrested. Jordan arrested. I don't know if this was it. I think this was it right here. Yeah. This is when me and Jordan got arrested. You're going to see me get arrested, watch. I'm not sure what that was. Like, that's WebC's content. That's weird as hell that it did that. Right? I don't know. That's crazy. Can you guys see me now? No, I know, but I do that all. Like, you can do national content, and you can do other people's, like WebZ. I know him. Like, I don't maybe I gotta look up. It's weird, and YouTube never responds to emails where they can be, and they're never specific about like what you did wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's beyond me. But anyway, right? You guys about to see I was about to be arrested, and I said something real smart. And that dude made those handcuffs so tight. I was like, ooh, can we start our relationship over? I'm sorry. It hurt so bad. But this is what happened. Like right then, it was just a regular arrest. Because it was people in that protest that was open carry. And that's what regulated it. So for me, I feel that I understand why people want to have their guns, because they'll go rapid. And you can see it in California, where you have a state that don't have open carry, and it's hard to get a concealed carry. I mean, I don't want to carry a gun around. I don't want to do that, you know. But you see what happens in those type of states. You know what I'm saying? And so I can understand that argument. I don't think that, I mean, I get your argument about people kill and why should we have more guns, but you know, they'll run even more rapid, I feel, like if we allow them to just not, you know. Let's see. Good job, random YouTube dude watching this stream. Enjoy our work. I don't know what that means, Michael. Too long on someone else's thread. Oh, okay. Maybe that's it. Maybe I was showing too much. Okay. What do they give you? Because I know you can use it as, like, if you're doing commentary, which I was doing, a reasonable amount of commentary, you can actually use it. I looked up the laws, the copyright laws, and what you can do. If you're doing a commentary on it and it justifies the amount of time, maybe I wasn't talking enough. I don't know. But whatever. What are you guys saying? Diana, I was locked out of my house where I lived on a 10-degree day and was told we have to break your window in order to help you. Then the police told me they wouldn't. Then they did. I don't even know what that means. The rifle shot will kill a deer. Bow and arrow, you better be ready. You better be really good to make it deadly. No chance against a bear. But moose are. I know a lot of people glowing. I know a lot of people who hunt with. I don't want to say I know a lot of people. Oh, look, I'm covering my face. I'm sorry. I don't want to say I know a lot of people who hunt. I don't know anyone who hunts. But I watch a lot of videos of people who hunt, and I watch a lot of documentaries of hunting and people hunting. So it's so funny. I watch it so much. I'm saying I know them, but I don't know anyone that hunts. But I know people hunt, and I respect it, and I enjoy watching it. And I know a lot of people, to make the playing field like level, they will only hunt with a bow and arrow. You know, a bow and arrow. So I mean, you got to think about back in the day with Native Americans, they used to use bow and arrows. I'm sure they used to have to kill bears and moose and all that type of shit with a bow and arrow. So it's definitely possible. But I get your point, Glow. I'm not trying to dispute what you're saying. I get your point. So, yeah, man, this was fun. Let me go down and see if it's under any other questions. You guys have any questions? Write them down, because I'm not about to go through this thread. It's like, gives me anxiety. Cheryl, they will only get water guns and bear gas. Maybe that was tear gas to make eyes water. Just gets lots of people. Michael, maybe for a moment they will run. During the Baltimore rebellion, the cops sometimes ran away. They only ran, but they came back and crushed the protesters. Yeah, you guys can watch. It's a good documentary on Netflix. I forgot what it's called, but it's about the riots in L.A. in 1992 and how the police. I mean, I was there, but the police, like for 3 days straight, there was no police. Period. And motherfuckers just ran rapid. And it was only until the National Guard came in. And you guys, they got a documentary on it and on Netflix, and you see, like, police just left. They just left. It was a scene of Florence and Normandy where the police came initially, then they just left. They just left. And they were ordered. I just watched this documentary too. They were ordered not to go back out and allowed everything to happen. Crazy. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm trying to hold my arm up because no, but I live another prick. Yeah, man, this hurts. Sway, dog. This shit, like, it's killing me, my dude. Hunting depends on where you live. Here where I am, NFLD, Canada, is very much a way of life. Almost everybody supplements their food supply with moose because it's so rural. Here, the gun laws. Because it's so rural, here the gun laws. I don't know what that means, but I feel you. Yeah, different places and people grow up different. It's like a culture. They grow up shooting, hunting, and hey, to keep it 100, if we hunt more of our meat, that does an enormous. It helps climate change like tremendously. I forgot the name of that type of gas. I can't think of it, but yeah, cows and stuff like that. I forgot that gas that comes from. Shoot, I can't think of it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, if people were to hunt more, hunt their meat instead of getting it from a farm that fucks it up. And you guys seen those documentaries where they just have them all bunched up and you have cows still in a company of dead cows and all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? If you hunt your meat, it'll be good for the environment. And everybody don't know how to shoot a bow and arrow. And you can use a rifle. Here I live, it's deer, rural areas have different perspective on guns. That's absolutely, yeah. A lot of rural areas, that's literally how they eat. I used to have a manager, he said he used to eat possum. They used to find possum on the road, like eat that because they were poor. There's a lot of poor white people that live in rural areas that they get a lot of their food by hunting. You know what I'm saying? And you can get meat for a month. You hunt a steer or something. You know what I'm saying? But that has nothing to do with gun control. I still think that we can have proper gun laws that can tremendously affect the amount of people that shouldn't have guns, that get guns, that then do these heinous crimes. Like we can walk and chew gum. You know what I mean? We can. It's just that we don't want to because it's not about that. It's about the gun manufacturers. The NRA, the NRA is in the pocket of the gun manufacturers, and they just want to make money. That's the bottom line. That's all it's about. They don't give a fuck if you die. They don't give a fuck about their constituents, about their membership. They give a fuck about the bottom line, how much money they're going to make, how much money the institution have, how much power they have to legislate. You know what I'm saying? That's it. We should have Alexandria Ocasio break that down. You know what I'm saying? All right, y'all. I got to fly out tomorrow to Jordan's, so we get ready to hit the road. So I'm going to have to clean up, and I got to do some other work right quick, so I'm going to go ahead and let y'all go. But I appreciate y'all, and I love this type shit. Like, we're going to do this more often. Hopefully, like I said, once I get this software together, and I need to get this other type of software. I'll let you guys know if you're interested in donating. It'll allow me to be able to like be more efficient with like editing. Like as Jordan is, Jordan does different topics, right? So as Jordan is doing different topics, I can be editing as it's live. It'll be coming to me live, and I can edit, which takes time away because we want to be putting up a lot more content. So we can build up the membership, because the membership is the only way that we're going to be able to survive. Your support's the way we survive, and to get out there and tell these stories that no one else is highlighting, and we want to do that. It drives us to do that as much as it drives you to watch us do it, and to support us. And you guys have been doing an amazing job with the support, and we appreciate it. And I just want to make sure that I acknowledge that, and I send out my love to you all. I love you all equally. Cheryl, enjoy your trip. Well, you guys are going to see the trip. We're going to cover the GM protests, and they're having water issues in Detroit. So you guys are going to see that. Hopefully, the only thing I'm worried about kind of is the drive, because if I sit too long, it's like a 10-hour drive, because we don't have the money to like fly from like New York to Ohio and Detroit, and then get a car, then get a hotel. So what we're going to have to do is drive to those places and stuff like that, just so we can be conservative and save some money. But yeah, no, that's the only thing I'm worried about, is just the drive. And like, so you see how I'm sitting down right now, and it's just hurting, and it kind of does that when I just sit down. So hopefully it won't, but you guys will see me, you guys will see us, and we appreciate your support. And I appreciate the conversation, man. This shit gives me different perspective. It opens me up, and I love the dialogue. Like I say, and I'm going to continue to say this all the time, because I want people to really understand, like, the only way that, this is the United States of America. And that shit is bigger than your party. And we should be more understanding, or at least more willing to understand that even though someone has a different ideology, the core of it is for the country to be better. They feel that on their side it can be better. We feel on our side it can be better, but everyone wants the country better. And I feel as long as whatever you believing in doesn't subjugate, minimize, undermine, isolate any group of people that's in this country, we can have a conversation. And you should be open to have those conversations. And we should be having those conversations. Because like I said, the only thing that can counter a bad idea is a good idea, not shutting it down. Because that idea will find life somewhere. All right? Who lives in Canada? What's up, Ty? Just getting here. Dog, you just getting here, Duggar, 1969. I'm about to leave, pimp. Oh, is it? I don't know what to tell you, man. They said my video quality is crap. It's probably because I got lazy and I'm not using my camera. I'm just using a camera on the computer. So I got you, but we'll do better. There's always room for improvement. It is always room for improvement. Well, Jordan always uses he doesn't have a camera. He always uses, because I'm the cameraman. So he always uses his camera. That's what I was talking to him about, getting him a camera and setting it up so when he goes live, he can go live on the camera versus using the computer camera. So we're going to start doing that once we raise money. All this shit costs money. And we're getting it all together. But, a lot of things get very expensive. So, but yeah, we're going to do that. We talked about all that. And we're going to raise the money too. We're going to get everything we need. And it's going to be good as we grow. All right? Love y'all. peace. Everything is love. Love is everything. Always be willing to accept it from anyone and express it to everyone.